So Kevin and I this year are going to be spending a little bit of time together talking about car setup and a couple more things. And really the reason for this is just because we want to try and give you guys, future drifters, a little bit of insight on what it takes to run a pro drift car or run a drift car at all. So we're going to talk about tire pressure, we're going to talk about shocks, we're going to talk about preparation, we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff.
And maybe go over some rules or two.
Maybe go over some rules. I don't know anything about those. But so yeah, I figured today was a perfect day to get started with it. We're out here at Horse Thief Mile, Willow Springs for a test day. And what do we got?
Let's talk about some tire pressures. Where do you start?
Yeah, so typically for us, we'll start our tire pressure just a little bit higher than I anticipate us ending up, and that only comes from experience, right? So really, your first tire pressure, you can kind of just take a stab in the dark, right? So try it out, something, whatever it is, 20, 30, 25, you know, somewhere around there, inside of your recommended specification for your tire probably. And then as you want more grip and as you get more comfortable, you're gonna dump some of that tire pressure out of there, and that's gonna make your car faster. It's gonna make it transition quicker, it's gonna make it a little bit harder to drive, but it's gonna be faster. So with us today, we're probably gonna start the tires at about 14 pounds and go out there, feel the car out, make sure I'm all good, everything's good, and then we'll probably dump them down. We'll probably end up at about 12, and if we're feeling real saucy, we'll probably dump them down to about 10. But this thing is gonna be fairly hard to drive once we get down there at that pressure, so.
All right, so what are you throwing on for front tire pressure?
Pretty stable. I like to run mine right about 28 pounds, and that's just kind of where I found my happy point with grip level and steering feel. So that's kind of what I've always ran, and I don't really fluctuate that. Like if I feel like the car isn't behaving the way that I want it to, I'll change something else. Front tire pressure to me is just pretty much locked in at 28.
So just a consistent thing, and you don't want it too low because then it's squishy. And then that type of thing too.
Well, and as the car kind of goes through its caster swing, if you have too low a pressure, I feel like you can kind of get like a little bit of like a porpoising, weird like boat feel in the front, and I kind of like to have that wheel nice and crisp, and that's also why we run a little bit of toe out in the front, but we'll cover that later. So yeah, 28 in the front, we're gonna start this thing at 14 in the rear. Let's go get it.
Sounds good to me.